welcome to the Energy, Climate Change, and Environmental Justice Committee. I'm going to go ahead and call public comment. We've got one speaker, Vicky Kirschenbaum. Did I pronounce your last name correctly? Come on up. And you're speaking in general public comment. You didn't fill out a card for any of the items, correct?
Exactly.
Okay, so go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to ask the committee to recommend that the full council request that LADWP come up with a different path. The utility has put forth a plan that would saddle the city with gas power for decades, including the repowering of 3 local gas plants, as well as repowering the IPP coal plant in Utah as a gas plant. I was present at the last public meeting of the LADWP Board of Commissioners. I had the opportunity to hear David Freeman speak. Not only does he have decades of experience in the power industry, he is a former general manager of the utility, and he accused the utility of intelligent denial in the face of climate change. He said the utility is perfectly capable of replacing gas with renewables and battery storage, joining CAISO for transmission options, funding the transition with municipal bonds. Change in course is possible. Climate change is speeding toward us like a freight train, and turning our backs on fossil fuels is the only way to avoid catastrophe.
Thank you very much. Are there any other speakers? Seeing none, I'm going ahead and close public comment for all items, including general public comment. Members, I'm going to go ahead and approve that we move items 1, 2, 4, and 5 on consent, unless anyone has a question on any of the items.
Item 4.
Item 4, you have questions? Are there any objections to move 1, 2, and 5 on consent? Seeing none, that will be the order. Go ahead. You have, just bring up item number 4 for Mr. Koretz. Is there anybody here? Yeah, go ahead. You want to read that into the record?
Certainly. Item number 4, City Attorney report and ordinance relative to authorizing Bureau of Sanitation to use a design, build, finance, maintain, operate project delivery method and competitive sealed proposal for the development of the organic waste material facility. We have a report from City Attorney as well as Sanitation.
Item number 4. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Adina Hopenstan, General Counsel to Sanitation with the City Attorney's Office.
Miguel Cermeno with LA Sanitation.
So the purpose of item number 4 in the report and the draft ordinance is that Sanitation would like to proceed with a design, build, finance, operate, and maintain project, a construction project at Clark's to develop organics processing facility there. The purpose for the ordinance is in order to authorize the DBFOM, Design, Build, Finance, Operate, and Maintain Delivery Mechanism, which is an opportunity to have the developer, the contractor, both design as well as construct the facility, and there's some debt sharing in that process. Under the Charter, 371B, any proceeding with construction in this manner requires an ordinance because it's not a design, bid, build, delivery mechanism. If you have any other questions either about the ordinance, purpose of the ordinance, or the project itself, we're happy to address those.
Go ahead, Mr. Corres. Do you have questions?
Thank you.
We've been joined by Mr. Cedillo.
Thank you.
And I'd say given the Woolsey fire, all of the other climate change disasters that we've seen and the recent climate assessments by the United Nations and others that we have 12 years at best to dramatically address climate change. 2025 now seems somewhat far off, especially since organics cause an inordinate amount of methane, which is one of the more dangerous climate pollutants. In the face of this report and all the others, has sanitation at all accelerated the implementation of its organics recycling, or are we actually behind schedule?
I will defer to Mr. Zermeño to answer that.
Yes, Councilman. Right now we're on schedule to move forward. We've been looking at various different technologies to make sure we select the correct technology in order for us to address the concern with organic waste. Our focus is to make sure we select the proper technology in order for us to start diverting that thousands of tons that are generated on a daily basis. So our current schedule to deliver this project in terms of operating, we're looking at 2022.
Is there any way to move this facility forward by a couple of years?
I think the challenge is trying to make sure the bid process and the work process gets forward. LA Sanitation, it's trying to move forward at least a year and a half, probably at the end of 2021.
So we're hopeful that at least will happen.
We'll have a facility built at Clark's by 2021, at the end of 2021.
And how far are we away from having a fully implemented citywide organics program, including neighborhood composting, et cetera?
Currently, right now, we're moving forward and trying to include in our green base food waste. We're going to be starting our pilot program in March of this year. We're going to be moving with 150,000 residents, and we're going to increase as the pilot. So we're hoping within the next year, I'm assuming we're going to be citywide collecting food waste on our green bin.
And how about with the Recyclo program? I understand we're talking about letting the vendors go an extra year without being fined for not complying.
With respect to the organics program under Recycla, the Recycla providers are obligated to build infrastructure and deal with that process in that context. And maybe when we have an opportunity to address that further, that program and organics under that program would be appropriate. I wanted to just clarify that this ordinance is intended to start the process for the organics facility at Clark's. That actually, to the extent that there is an organics processing facility at Clark's, that also would be where the Recycla small zones would send their materials to. So this is part of the development of the infrastructure necessary to fully implement organics processing in the city.
Thank you.
Any other questions, members? Yeah, Mr. Krekorian?
Thank you. Just briefly, so the objective here is to have slurry transported from Clark's to Hyperion for anaerobic digestion.
That is correct.
How is it transported?
It will be transported via our sewer system.
Okay.
We're going to go ahead and make sure we're looking at about 90% liquid water, 10% solids, in order to make sure we do not create any impact on our sewer system. We've been, for more than a year, we've been doing projections and estimates of the impact on Hyperion. So far, everything looks well. So we expect to produce more methane from the food waste that it will be the slurry coming out of Clark's, and that will be additional organics into Hyperion, which we're going to have an increase on our green energy production.
So for years, I've wanted more of the bio waste to be utilized as a fuel source, but it's been my understanding that solids themselves don't have a high enough BTU to create efficiency in use in scattergood, for example. But is the objective here that the biogas that would be created by the anaerobic digestion would be able to be used at scattergood?
Yeah, that will be the additional organics that will be transported via the sewer system to Hyperion. There will be an increase in actually methane that will be generating green energy in our DGUP project in Hyperion itself.
DGUP is not at scattergood; it's located at Hyperion, and it allows beneficial reuse of the gas.
Okay, so that gas would be utilized to create energy for use on site at Hyperion.
That is correct.
Is it feasible to be able to feed scattergood with this?
The DGUP will be able to take the additional loading, organics loading, in order to generate the additional energy. I believe right now that Hyperion is using 80% of all the energy that is being generated from the biosolids. So this additional organic waste will help us increase reduction on the actual, outside energy.
Regarding your question about scattergood, I don't know that we have the answer for you today.
Okay. I think it's a terrific proposal and supportive of moving forward.
Great. Any other questions? Seeing none? Okay. Go ahead and move that we approve item number 4. Without objection, that will be the order. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 3.
Item number 3, Board of Public Works report relative to agreements with US EPA for a brownfields cleanup grant for cleanup activities at Taylor Yard G2 project.
So let's go ahead and get a quick update from the department and see how things are going in efforts to bring a park and open space to this community in Mr. Cedillo's district. Good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Colette Monell, and I'm with Sanitation Brownfields Program. So we are requesting to apply, accept, and execute a US EPA Brownfields grant that would be targeted for cleanup at Taylor Yard. And there's no fiscal impact. We would be reimbursed. We'd be front funding, but on a reimbursement basis. And the maximum amount of EPA cleanup funding that we can apply for this year is $500,000, and we are applying for the maximum amount.
Any questions? Mr. Corretz.
So my understanding is we're looking at capping the pollution rather than completely cleaning it up. Is that correct?
I don't have that detail with you because the Bureau of Engineering is actually leading the specific cleanup that will be done, and the remedial action plan that they will be following hasn't been completely drafted yet. That would follow the direction of the Department of Toxic Substance Control, the DTSC. So I don't have that level of detail right now. We're just applying for cleanup funding that would be coming from the EPA.
So presumably we would be able to use the funding for either approach?
Yes, it would
Either
be
capping or cleaning?
or excavating. It would be following what's approved from the State Department of Toxic Substance Control.
So I don't know if now is the time, but how do we make the effort to not just cap it, but to actually clean it up?
Well, the EPA cleanup grant includes, for the general proposal, it includes different alternatives. So one of them, it would be doing nothing. One of them would be capping. One of them would be removing the soil. And then depending on what the DTSC directs and then what the Bureau of Engineering is recommending, our funds would be following what's they're recommending and what the state is allowing the Bureau of Engineering to do.
Okay, so what would the right time be to try to give input to encourage actually cleaning the site?
Well, that's what we're trying to do right now, is to use the EPA cleanup funding to do something at the site. So $500,000 would be where the Bureau of Engineering is looking to target for early activation and actually remediate part of the site. $500,000 can't do everything, but it will help.
So what you're saying is we're not looking to spend this money to cap, we're looking to spend this money to actually clean it up?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Mr. Cedillo?
No, I didn't hear her say that 500,000 would be, it's extremely modest if you're thinking about a cleanup or a cap or anything. That I think what they're looking at is to figure out what needs to be done. The standards are set by DTSC. They've got the highest standards, most robust requirements in the state, and so they would be the entity, like the agency, that would make that determination. And it's from there then that we would follow their lead and their leadership on this question.
Right. The EPA funding would just be helping what the state is directing us to do, the city to do.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. I recommend that we move on this item without objection. That concludes our items for this meeting. Members, do you have any comments, questions, or concerns? Nope, seeing none, our meeting is adjourned. Thank you.